I'm forgetting something. Make sure that the other account. Yep, I knew I was forgetting something. No worries.
There's always one thing. Yeah.
There's always one thing. It's all good. It's all good. All right. On that side. I'm going to go ahead and pin the video stream onto the Twitter space. Boom. And I'm going to let my Discord know. That was the one thing. That's like the one thing I always forget, bro. Like Discord is just, it's like two full separate communities almost, you know? Like Twitter and Discord.
It's like parallel worlds. You got to remember.
It literally is. That's the funniest way to put it. Okay. All right. We good. Spaces. Good to go, right, chat? Nice. We are live. What's up?
You need to mute you on my phone.
Oh yeah, so that's the thing with space. With the space, I totally forgot to tell you. You are gonna have to move your phone to the side, like somewhere. Like I usually move it like 10 feet away. It kind of depends on your mic, how much it picks up, because you can't turn the audio off all the way, which is so annoying. But
let's do this. See if that works.
King shit. All right, fire. I think audio's good to go. Everyone's good to go over here, guys. Glasses on. It's game time. Welcome back to the Joyage Kingdom. I'm Cage, your guide. I'll be replacing the voice inside your head for now, giving you a break from the constant internal monologue that is the human mind. I want to say first, thank you for listening or viewing on whatever platform you're on. If you haven't already, smash the like button for me. Subscribe to the channel. Join the kingdom. If you're on Spaces, I appreciate y'all. If you wanna support, if you guys are excited for a great conversation, we have a giveaway going on later on as well. Hit that bottom right button, that message icon. Hit the retweet on the space. Tag your friends. Do all the things. Retweeting and following us will be one of the requirements for the giveaway later on. So I hope you guys are excited for that. We do have a sick episode today. This podcast is brought to you guys by BetFury Gaming, a crypto company looking to bring y'all motherfucking generational wealth. We're going to be bringing our educational content and podcasts over to the DGen audience. For every 10 minutes you watch on Twitch, you earn 100 points, which you can exchange for cash prizes, entries for cash prizes. Muso won literally $250 just from being in the stream. You guys can win stuff every single show. Who else is doing that in Web3? I can think of a few, but like it's still cool. Also, we have the Joyage Torch Mint beginning today. So be sure you're following my Twitter for the updates. I'll be posting the video that explains my whole NFT art ecosystem and the mint details later today. Today, the Genesis holders and OGs can mint. The public will be this week. Anyways, today we have Nick, founder of reNFT, NFT renting and lending platform. Also, the co-founder of Rumble Kongs. If you guys are OG, give me some fucking claps in the chat if you're OG, because that's crazy. I literally had no idea till just now, and I'm so excited because we're going to talk about that a little bit today. We'll have another space later on to talk all about Rumble Kongs. I'm just pumped about that project. And we are going to be talking about all the things, how the NFT lending and renting works, demands, potential ramifications, competition, metaverse, UBI, like so many things I'm going to throw at you. So, Nick, dude, thank you for coming on the show.
I love it, man. I love the energy. Excited to be here. Yeah. Appreciate you having me, and excited to dive deep with you.
100%, dude, 100%. So for people, NFT lending, so the first thing that comes to my mind, and the only reason I want to bring this up in the beginning is because it's the first thing that came to my mind, which is like when I think of NFT lending, I think of, I don't know if you know these people, but like Machi, Franklin with 69 Bored Apes, whoever these big influencers are, they lend their Bored Ape, they get the liquidity back from it, they flip 2 or 3 things, they make 7 ETH, and they just buy their Bored Ape back. And I'm just like, is that the target audience for the NFT lending and renting? What are even your thoughts on that kind of trading? Is that beneficial for the space? Blah, blah, blah. Just your thoughts on that whole thing.
Yeah, totally. First of all, what a saga, right? Like we've seen craziness play out in the space there. And I think it's, a product of 0% royalties, obviously, when we talk about marketplaces specifically. But yeah, so a lot of people confuse us with lending, right? Like with loans specifically, whereas renting and lending, what we mean is true rentals, right? So like you would rent an apartment in real life, right? So you never actually own the asset. You're not leveraging against it, lending against it, any of that kind of nature. And yeah, to your point, like I think we're seeing a lot of downsides to it in the space, right? We're seeing like 50 wallets control majority of the volume happening in the space. What I do like is seeing, a lot of, new and innovative ways to experiment with NFT liquidity, deep liquidity, order books, all these kind of things are things that have to happen for the industry to blossom. The bad, the good, it's all going to come. But before the real players really, come into the space, the mass adoption, the mainstream users, I think a lot of this has to get ironed out, right? So for better or for worse, I think in the long term, we'll see, you know, the downsides to it, and it will improve the space. So I think it's kind of a necessary evil to some degree, but I think it's really great for the space overall.
Oh wait, hold on. It's like I just got. Hold on. I'm gonna make your reNFT the co-host real quick, but also, who said that? Jennifer, you can't hear him in the space. Hold on. Can you guys confirm? Because I can hear him right now in the YouTube and the Twitch, and our restream is linked. So give me 1 second, fam. If you guys can hear, give me thumbs. If you're in spaces right now and you can hear both of us, then please give me thumbs up. If you can't, give me thumbs down, I guess. Give them a couple seconds. There's just like a 7-second delay here.
No worries. Yeah, I'm getting from our reNFT side too that can't hear him in the spaces.
1 sec. Phone's connected. Oh, you know what? Jesus Christ. They are absolutely right. I have the wrong cord attached.
No
wow.
worries.
Okay. We're back. Twitter Space, you should be able to hear both of us now, and my audio should be 10 times crisper because you were hearing the speaker just now. Damn. Well, that's fine. YouTube still got it. Twitch or Twitter Spaces, I appreciate y'all still being in here. You should be able to hear both of us now. Apologies for that. But yeah, we just talked a little bit about the NFT lending versus the renting, some of the necessary evils. And I agree with you because for myself, I really don't have a problem because, and I think Giancarlo said this really well. So I think Giancarlo said this really well when I had him on the show, and he was like, "Listen, there's some things that you just can't avoid when you're in the beginning of an industry like this." And he's like, and it's also like there are winners and losers kind of thing, but it's also like part of the game. Like that's okay. It's like when you play Monopoly, you're gonna lose things, and like it's fine to lose. And I've lost many times. Like, what are your thoughts on like? I know you guys dropped. I mean, RumbleKongs was a super OG project. I remember way back in the day. What are your thoughts on like the difference in styles of project, and then what you learned the first time around versus now? Because you co-founded both.
Yeah. So for context, I've been in the space a long time. We could dive into that, but reNFT started about 2.5 years ago. RumbleKong started like about 1.5 years ago. So technically reNFT is older, and we've learned a lot on both sides, right? But I think, like, to your point, the biggest thing, like before diving into that, is like, where is the line of decentralization, right? Because when you build tech that anyone can utilize for anything, any purpose, truly own their assets, whatever the case is, you're going to have bad actors, right? That's one of the downsides, right? In centralized based systems, one of the pros is that they're guarding you from scams, from spam, from everything, right? They're sort of like shutting you off to this alternate reality of existence. And so, the downside is you don't actually own your assets and you can't do anything with them. So I think it's tough. It's a moral question, but you kind of have to take that into account, which is like, do you want to truly own things? Do you want like true open permissionless tech? Or do you want people to say, whoa, we like it to that extent, but now we don't like that. So let's not do that, right? So it's kind of like who is the deciding factor? It shouldn't be anyone. You should be able, at least in my opinion, to do these things. And naturally, I think you'll see kind of like movements form toward one way or another based off of their personal ethos. But yeah, in terms of founding projects, again, I've been in the space quite a while, and we can get into my background too, which is primarily in traditional game development. So I've seen a lot over time and probably learned a lot more in the traditional game development days. Been through a lot of these crypto cycles. So I think the first couple are always painful, right? You kind of learn what happens, what's repetitive. The end kind of underlying ethos is usually the same, and you see a lot of history that rhymes. And so I think like the biggest thing is always putting community first. Like you're never going to lose with that. You're never going to lose by putting your community, your creators first, in down times and up times, and focusing on kind of the longer term picture. A lot of people really build for these short-term hype cycles, but at the end of the day, these are businesses, right? And they have to make money. There's people building here. There's people that, are paying to live, to eat through this industry. It has to blossom to something that actually profits and makes money. Now that should be shared with your broader community, but nonetheless, like these are things that have to happen, right? We can't just build openly with no end in sight, with no profitability in sight, or it's not even real, right?
Yeah. And the good thing about the one thing I've enjoyed is that I feel like over the last few months, the space has matured a little bit faster, or like I feel like there was a bunch of shit that happened, and we had a few people come out. Like there's some clear winners right now for project founders that are just like blowing up. We got Luca Nets. Every time he does anything or says anything, it just blows up. Frank is just on another fucking god level. It's like the weirdest, the craziest thing. But I'm so glad that like watching, especially Frank's progression from like a total straight degen, always like kind of a savage, but a straight total degen, to starting to share, even like knowing how much what's the word, like reach he has, he'll still make it a point to drop important, helpful stuff and remind people, you know, in between the degen tweets he makes, like really, really important business things, like, yo guys, we literally need to raise money. This needs to make sense. Like, and he explains things in a way where people are understanding. And I feel like we need those leaders to talk about what's really going on and how businesses work, because man, there's so many projects that I remember that were dropping in 2021. And because everything is moving so fast, like if they were even a shred qualified, we just were like, oh fuck, you know, high floor price means they're going to be fine. And it's been wild. Like, have you had any friends that kind of have dropped out of the space over the past couple of years? Has it been any different with NFTs specifically versus like what you were doing before?
So many. I think like, given I've been in the space so long, like, you know, my family around me and anyone that I've been in this space with, we've always been those crypto guys, right? Where first they laugh at you, then it starts to make sense. Suddenly they're like, hey, where can I put my money? And it's always that, you know, hilarious meme of a top signal when you're getting texts from, you know, extended friends, family, whatever it is. I saw a lot of that in NFTs, right? Suddenly everyone's like trading something or some kind of picture or JPEG or whatever. And they're like, help me understand this. Why does it make sense? What do I buy? What do I do? And, you know, it's so true how evident it is, where it's like, it's important these people come in, but it's also like, we want to avoid them learning painful lessons that then they just need, right? So I think now more than ever, like, retail's gone, right? Retail doesn't exist in this space. It's you know, the time is to build infrastructure and specifically products as well on top of that infrastructure to bring in those people. So to your point, like, I'm excited to see a lot more founders like that in the space, transparently acting, showing what's happening behind the scenes, documenting the process. Like, it's so needed. And think about like the traditional Web 2 space in any industry, games down the ladder. Usually, if we focus on games for a second, you don't even hear about a game until it's 4 or 5 years down the line of development, right? Because the studio probably built 10 titles through $50 million at each one, and one of them is going to stick, right? So I think it's really cool to, you know, even if a project fails over here, the fact that they were transparent in the process, communicating, and we're learning lessons of what went wrong or what didn't work quite well or what didn't resonate quite well as a whole. Like, I think community and members, whether they're there for the project, whether they're kind of investors to some degree, I think they appreciate it, right? Like, they want to know what went wrong and why. They don't just want a project to disappear because they're scared of the potential like ramifications, right? So
Yeah. And so, speaking of potential ramifications, that was one of the questions I had for like NFT lending and renting, just because that's not like if you tune into a bunch of Twitter spaces, they're talking about Nakamigos or whatever the fuck Pixel project just pumped. Like, they're talking about that. They're talking about whatever Bored Ape sold for $600,000. They're not talking about, like, in my opinion, the cool stuff, like the stuff that's interesting, like the reason I'm here. That's why I don't make DJing content. I'd much rather talk to people like you and talk about these concepts, because a lot of them are in place right now. They're taking place right now, the beginnings of them, or they've even been going for a couple of years. But like, you know, the mass adoption hasn't happened yet, so we don't even know what it's going to look like, which is so exciting for me. I can't even imagine not talking about it. So I would love to know like some of the potential ramifications that you guys thought about when you were creating reNFT, what you guys foresaw might happen, maybe the things that you thought would happen that didn't end up being a problem, just all that stuff.
Totally. Yeah. To your point, like, a lot of the notable projects we see today, the Aves of the world, like the DeFi sector, any of that, like, they were built in the previous cycle, right? Like, they were in an interesting spot where nobody was really there. Like, nobody really cared until they saw the power of the tech. And that's very much been the case with reNFT as well. Like, we started, like I said, about 2.5 years ago with an initial thesis of like, a digital property in digital ownership rights will become a thing through NFTs, through blockchain. Back then, OpenSea was doing like $8,000 in volume a day. Like, it was just art, right? Gaming assets didn't even quite click yet. They didn't quite make sense. At the time, I personally was working at the Sandbox. I was there for about 2.5 years, and we were starting to see like people acquiring virtual land in our land sales, which were like $40 at the time or so, with no other intent but to be a landlord and rent them out. And like, while that might not have been like the most exciting use case, what was clear to us is like, when there's property rights, if they're true property rights in the digital sphere, the downstream effects will come. And like, you need true financial primitives built around them to enable any of it, right? Like, a lot of people were talking about what they're going to be doing with all these assets, or how they can, create like real economies around them, but none of the actual plumbing was there. So we set out specifically at a hackathon to build like an initial MVP. We ended up winning that. We went to a couple others. We won those as well. And suddenly we're like, hey, something's here. Something makes sense. So why it's exciting today is because 2.5 years ago, there wasn't even really games building. There was like a few happening, like, CryptoKitties was like your best example of a game, so to speak, if you even want to call it that, right?
Holder baby, CryptoKitties. I got a
right.
Gen 0 or something, or Gen 1. I love it.
Yeah, totally. Like, the bags are packed away there somewhere with dust on them, right? And so, finally today we're seeing massive studios come into the space. We're seeing indie games pop up. We're seeing like such a plethora of products that are so exciting, because finally there's like real use cases. We're seeing our first real activity over the past kind of quarter. That's really starting to spur up. Like, we're seeing real users. We're seeing how they're using the product, how we can evolve the product. So painfully has been products to actually integrate with and make the tech work. And it still is a pain, but it's finally really getting there. And then in terms of just excitement, it's just like, is the same, right? It's kind of a double-edged sword, which is, hey, there's finally real teams here. They're actually building, they're well-funded, right? We had $8 billion flow into the Web3 gaming space over the past years. Like, something is going to come of it, right?
Yeah. And I've been excited about that, because a lot of because there's so much mystery surrounding everything, because Metaverse took such a big hit, gaming is one of those that people are like still on the fence on. And because of that, I was told that the gaming companies still have, like, if you're going to try and, either if you're a content, for example, if you're a content creator, like making some content around gaming, in my opinion, is still a great idea. I talked about that a few months ago. I didn't realize the podcasting game for me was going to pick up so quickly. And so I had to, not push as heavy into gaming as I thought I was going to be, but I do still think that there's a lot of opportunity in the gaming world, because they've got a lot more funding, because there's just a lot of options. And people are like, yo, what about this? Because I was talking to, I forget who I was talking to this about, but people seem to forget that we're one like success story away from the entire narrative of anything in this space. Pick any topic ever in Web3. We're one success story away from everyone going, oh shit, I guess that is possible. Gaming's included, metaverse is included, anything is included. And that's the coolest part about it. And I definitely had a question there. I can't even remember what it was. But I was going to ask this because it came up when you were talking, for people who are trying to work, because you worked at the Sandbox. I definitely want to talk about that. How the fuck are you? How are people going to get a job if they are qualified? They maybe have 47 followers on Twitter. They follow a bunch of people. They have no idea how content really works. What would be your first go-to answer for getting hired, basically?
Yeah, for sure. So I really went like full-time crypto space 2014, which was like really just Bitcoin days, like some interesting things happening. Like, you couldn't even really go full-time, but it was to some degree. But then like 2017 for me was just my worlds colliding. Like, I worked in gaming assets made sense to me, and I went all in. And really what I did is I went and I looked at projects out there that really resonated with me, right? Like, I knew what was happening with crypto, but I was like, what else is out there that's interesting? That's really when I went deep on like what's happening within the Ethereum ecosystem, like what's possible. And my background was in voxel games specifically. So we built the number 1 and 3 bestsellers of all time on Xbox. They were like the first real Minecraft-like games on Xbox. And so Sandbox was a natural fit. So literally what I did is I cold reached out to Seb at the Sandbox and was just told him about my background. I'm like, how can I help? Right? I have no idea what you need. I see you need some of these things. Like, from my perspective, you need help here, here, and here, and like the marketing department on the product side, from what I can see. And he really appreciated that. It was just like, hey, let's try something out. Let's jump in here. Let's see. And it just kind of scaled from there. So I think one of the cool things about the Web3 space, crypto space as a whole, is like, there's a community you can join and directly talk to the founders, investors, backers, members of a project. There's never been an industry like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, the fact that you can jump into what is $1 billion company or multi-billion-dollar company in some of these projects and talk to one of the creators of it is unheard of, right? Like, you can't do that. So, my biggest thing is just start contributing. Like, for instance, Axel, our community manager at reNFT, who's been with us for like forever, like 1.5 years or 2 now, even it feels like yesterday, but also 10 years at the same time. He came through the community. Like, he joined in, he thought the concept around reNFT renting was interesting, just gradually was like, hey, I think I can help here and here, and just started to get involved. He was just doing things at first, and then we're like, hey, let's start let's bring him on as a team member. Let's start paying this guy. Let's start scaling with him and growing him. And so like that's what I recommend is just start doing things, right? There's never been a space where you can do things, and founders absolutely notice, whether they'll tell you or not. They see what you're doing and what's meaningful or what's not, and what they think they can lean into more.
Do you think the strategy changes at all when there's a market like this versus when we're in the middle, or like we feel the energy of a bull run coming? Is there a difference in strategy, you think, for people who are trying to work, or you think it's still the same?
I think now is the best time to be. I mean, it's twofold. You have a lot of projects that are running out of funding, but maybe they weren't going to make it in the first place, whatever the case is. So there's that side where, macro conditions as well. Like not a ton of projects are hiring, but at the same time, Web3 is in a good place because we just went through like insane funding rally in, these crazy bull markets. So they are well capitalized. They might not be scaling as aggressively, but they're still hiring, meaningful roles and exciting people. And why I say it's kind of twofold is because, in these times, you're going to get noticed more, probably. Like there's not a ton of people in any of these communities, right? So you're going to be seen,
Sure.
you're going to be picked up, you can make a name for yourself. And then when the space does blow up or, starts to rally again, and these new entrants and retail starts to come back in, you're going to be closer with these people. Like you're going to have a relationship, like even just us talking, like, when there's, a bunch of other people that are doing interesting things that you're talking with, we're going to remember this conversation, right? So it's such a small nascent space that you should talk to everyone. You should send that DM, you should reach out. Like people respond. It's friendly. It's one of the few industries where you can actually talk to a competitor of yours in a friendly manner, right?
Yeah. Have you done any of that? Like how much of your job is like this style of thing, talking back and forth, doing some content? Cause I've seen, and I was very impressed with the content that you guys have. Just like you guys are on everywhere, bro. You're on TikTok, you're on YouTube. Like that's almost unheard of, other than like maybe like Pudgy Penguins comes to mind if as far as projects that put forward content creation as a top tier important thing to focus on. But
totally. No, I think it's super important. Like on both reNFT and RumbleKong side, like, we're gamers focused at the end of the day, game developers and gamers. And so like your traditional audience, this space isn't big enough for any one company to succeed at the end of the day. When you talk gaming, like there's not enough people in the space. So I think any projects that are trying to target strictly Web3, I think it's important to target Web3 and keep the ethos, but you need to expand outside of this kind of Twitter bubble that we live in. You have to target, your mainstream users. You have to bring them in interesting ways. And, for any of it to succeed, we kind of all have to work together to make a name outside of this space, because, the narrative outside of our space isn't the best given a lot of the negative sentiment that's happened over the years, right? So we have to educate.
yeah, 100%. And so I wanted to bring it back a little bit to the actual lending and the renting, and would love to know if there's a way to explain it without visuals. If not, I can totally, like, I can bring up your website if you want, like whatever would help explain it the best. Would just love to know how it works, because I know there's a multitude of people who watch the show. There's content creators, there's founders, there's builders, there's developers. So people are interested in this stuff. So I'd love to know how it works.
Totally. Yeah. So super simple. Like think of how you would rent an apartment in real life, like, kind of automate the process. So basically we're first to note a protocol first, a platform second. So we have a front facing platform that's kind of like your OpenSea of rentals, but we're really focused on the protocol. So we white label, meaning we build directly in games interfaces if they want it. Otherwise, we have these dedicated pages. But basically, you as an NFT owner, you come onto the platform and you define the terms. So you set like max lend duration, meaning how long somebody can rent the asset, a daily rental price, and you're good to go, right? We have another product, but I'll focus on that for now. When you do that asset's escrowed in our core contract so that there's not a duplicate running around, so it's held there. When a renter comes along and actually rents, rather than like full custody of the asset being given or anything like that, trust is entirely removed, meaning our contract acts as like a delegation registry of sorts. So we give this on-chain use right that maps back to the original asset, metadata, everything, where from a project's perspective, it's as easily integratable as wherever they're currently loading in assets from their own contract, they just have to ping ours. So we have an API to do that. They can pull it directly on chain, however they want to. And they can load in those rented assets then. So super simple. Like lender defines the terms, renter comes along, sees an interesting asset and rents it. That's pretty much it. Straightforward.
And then does reNFT take any kind of cut, like any transaction? Like is that how the backend stuff works for the business?
Yes. So we take protocol fees set to 0 for adoption, but when it is enabled, we take a fee from the lender's rental income side. So it's kind of a win-win. There's no fees for the renter outside of like what they're paying or what they're playing and splitting. But yeah, it's all on the back end.
That's dope, dude. That's actually really cool. What do you think the best way to market that? And like, have you guys even started implementing in the content, or is that something you guys are working on? Like, how is it going to onboard new users, do you think? Especially now versus like maybe a bull run?
Totally. So we're seeing a lot of we're seeing our most activity ever right now on Avalanche in a game called Castle Crush.
Nice.
So it's actually an interesting case study because if you're not familiar, it's done by Wildlife Studios, so a top mobile game studio. They're really big in Brazil. And they have about 1.5 million active players on the mobile game. So it's on your phone. It's like kind of like Supercell kind of vibes. Really cool. Anyway, it's interesting because they integrated NFTs to a successful product instead of vice versa. And so what we actually saw there, like the data is fascinating. We just passed 100,000 rentals there. I think we're at like 125,000 or so like actual NFTs rented. And why that's exciting is because there's no real value extraction to happen. So there's no like bad incentives and like fake volume. And what I mean by that is the ACS token that people are earning, it doesn't even have a liquidity pair that's live. I think a community created one with like $1,000. People are actually using it in the game to level up cards, like continue progressing, that sort of thing. So it's just game utility. But the data we're seeing there is actually that 47% of people actually started playing through renting, right? So even though there's cheap card NFTs that are like $5, $10, even that's a big ask if you're a traditional gamer, right? So 47% of those people actually started through renting. And then of those, about 37%, if my number's not wrong, are actually converted to in-app purchases. So we're seeing like from a user acquisition, like accessibility standpoint, it doing a lot of interesting things and like onboarding people into the space, right? Like anytime you have these scarce assets, you start to create, barriers to entry for the more meaningful game experiences or the more like in-depth experiences.
What's the solution for that when like that happens? Like if that's inevitable, is that even bad? Like I know in Ready Player One, the key is just like it's so hard to get, and only a few people still get it. Even at the very end, even when people, I think I forget how, I don't know if they even talked about it in the movie later. But like the key is pretty much always super fucking valuable. Is that a problem? You think? Is that good? What do you think?
It's twofold. Like I think if there's like a single asset like that, like you look at like your Yuga key, like there could be a rental case to be made, but that's not really necessarily our focus. But I think anytime you have assets that can be owned and like those property rights, you're gonna also attract investors that are probably holding assets and doing nothing with them. Like we see it in a lot of games today, right? Like in a lot of, especially like land style games, like these people are holding digital land with no other intent but to just hold it, right? Yeah. And now you have an asset that your gamer who actually wants to come in and play and try your experience can't do anything with it, right? Your incentives are so misaligned that they need to come together, and it's a win-win situation at the end of the day. Like I, as an investor, if I haven't sold already, I'm probably holding it because I believe in the project, or I want to see the future of this. And then there's somebody who wants to come use it, right? So there's this win-win to be connected together in a trustless way. So I think a lot of those are more like hyperbole effect, kind of your marketing angle. And there's probably some cool things with them. And I like the higher tier luxury assets as well. There's different cases to be made there, but we're more in that, like, we're anywhere that rentals make sense, but we're seeing a lot more in that kind of middle tier.
Yeah, well, my mind immediately goes to like, yo, if you guys ramp up marketing every time there's an in real life event, because if I'm trying to go to a fucking, I don't know, like a Utes or a DGOS thing, but I can't afford to buy a Utes or DGOS, like that's pretty much an option right there. I mean, you can even like have your friends go into this, like, yo, let's go like halvesies on this. We can rent it for the weekend. We can get into this party and experience if we even like it or not. And then if you guys like ramp up the marketing just for like the 2 weeks leading up, bro, that'd be kind of lit, because there's an NFT conference, I feel like every few months, and they're like popping up everywhere. There's one in Seattle now. There was one in LA. There was one in Orlando, I think I saw the other day. That there was one in Charleston because of Beeple. They're everywhere.
In a lot of these NFTs, right? Like their promise is that they're going to continue giving things, right? So like a VFriends, right? Where it's a ticket to VCon. It's like, well, I might not really want to go to VCon every year, or maybe I live, 12 hours away from it. I'm flying. Like I'm not going to do that, but there's somebody that wants to come experience that. And to your point, like we even saw it with Yuga in the sewer passes, right? So we literally saw, like, we spun up an experiment where people could delegate out their sewer pass as well. You saw like Delegate Cash do it too. And it was the first time we actually saw skill-based rentals. So you saw people who at the end of the day aren't gamers, right? Like I would argue a lot of your asset holders, like maybe they were gamers or like a small subset is, but a lot of them are like traders, speculators, or investors, or they're just a community member. They were delegating them out to people who were better than them, right?
They were
And
making so much money too. They were making
yeah,
so
and you
much
saw
money.
it, right? Like you saw Mongrel, you saw a professional gamer come in, embarrass everyone, take the money, and dip out.
Even a normal person, dude. I saw some guy. I ended up following him. We chatted for a little bit, just in Twitter DMs, and he made some posts. He's like, "Bro, I made like 12 ETH just like doing that." He basically just like hacked the system sort of, and was like, "Yo, I can do this if you give me this." He was like working with 12 different people to just get them points so that they could get. It was the craziest shit, dude. Like it's innovating, and like I said, you're one success story away. Especially when another project does it successfully. Like you guys, a big project, you know, it was like the sewer pass. No matter what, was going to be 2 or 3 ETH anyway. So that priced out like 90% of people. But if there's an even smaller project that does it successfully and there's a little bit of arbitrage in there and the gamers get a little bit of money, the gaming world takes off a little bit. Maybe the PFPs get a different idea. They've got something going on. It's a really, really cool concept.
Definitely. And like to your point, anytime you create that scarcity, which is going to create value to some degree, and you're creating unique experiences around or unique access or utility, like rental cases are going to form. Some more meaningful than others, but they're going to form. Like,
yeah,
can't, the only other way around it is to continue creating new assets and dilute your existing holders, right? So it's a tough problem for a lot of projects, and that's why rentals are so meaningful in a lot of ways. And it's different in every one, but.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I see Bane in here saying he's literally going to do that. Giants Truffle, the renting for events is actually a great use case. Dude, I think this is cool. Like this is why these conversations are happening. They need to be happening. And also Stream Elements, I think that's the bot in here. Ice and Dark just reading $5 cash prize. If that's true, that's fucking nuts, Ice and Dark, because you literally just won $500. Make sure you redeem that shit. I don't know. I don't even know exactly how you do that. Just make sure you make an account for that. Holy smokes, it's a lot of money. And also, if you guys are in the spaces or if you're on video stream, wherever you're watching, we'll just start the giveaway now. We'll announce the winner later on in this show. All you need to do to win a, how do you say, is it Cat Pleaser reNFT? Yeah. Cat Pleaser reNFT Genesis card. We're going to give one of those away, courtesy of Nick and the team. Appreciate y'all for the giveaway. I'll also be giving away, not exactly sure yet, something in the Joyage Kingdom, either the merchandise collection or one of, I'm not sure yet. Something from Joyage Kingdom. I'll give away something as well. All you have to do to enter is hit that retweet button. If you're on Spaces, hit that retweet button. Bottom right corner, it's a little message icon. Retweet the space. Be sure to be following all the hosts. So we got Nick, we got reNFT, we got myself. Be following us. And then for all the extra entries, you guys want the extra entries because I'm going to be just scrolling through my mentions. That's the only way I can do this. And just screenshot wherever you're at. If you're in Spaces, if you're on Twitch, if you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, I don't know where you're at. Screenshot it, tweet us, and tag us so that I see it. And I'm going to be scrolling through all those. But the requirements are you also have to be following us and have retweeted the space. So if I choose a winner and I find out you didn't do all the things, you will be a loser. And that would suck because you could have won an NFT and you could have won something in the Joyage Kingdom. So make sure you do that. I'm going to remind you all a little bit later in the show, and then we'll choose the winners towards the end. So, yeah, appreciate you guys for doing the giveaway. I love doing that.
The Cat Pleasers are like $300-$400 now, I think, too.
Yeah, yeah. I think the floor is like almost 0.2 on those. So, guys, legitimate stuff. I mean, you guys know I never really give away NFTs that are like, have no liquidity kind of thing. Like if you were trying to get in the ecosystem or make a little bit of money, either way, this is a great opportunity. And all you had to do was just be in here listening and learning about cool, innovative shit. Like that's the best thing ever, bro. That's the best thing ever. It's what I envisioned when I first started the show. I was like, man, one day this will be cool. I don't know how, but one day it'll be cool. Like, I don't know. I'm just going to start these podcasts and talk to people and whatever. But anyways, let's see. So let's talk a little bit about Rumble Kongs. When you dropped that project, do you remember like any of the emotions? Do you remember what were wrong? Just to like kind of pick your brain about that, because man, that was a wild time to be alive.
It was a wild time. That was obviously like peak PFP madness, NFT summer, July 2021 or so. Yeah, I mean, we were stoked. Like, first of all, it didn't sell out, right? Like Rumble Kongs sold out over like 4 or 5 days or something, which at the time was like crazy, which for us didn't matter. Like we were in it to build a meaningful community. We were building like a very out there game project. We knew what it takes to build. Like our team on that side, and myself included, like we're veterans, in game development and from AAA publishing all the way down to Web3. And so we knew what we were doing. And I think we were one of the first to really like combine PFP meets game ecosystem. Like now everyone's suddenly a game, right? So yeah, like the emotions were great. Like we're seeing all these community members come in, and we really relied on our reputations in the space to even get the narrative forming, because it still was tough, right? Like projects would mint out, but it would just be like people flipping and then they'd leave, right? And so yeah, it was just exciting to see people resonate with the vision, right? Like we were combining a lot of familiar concepts into a blender. Saw Top Shot onboard a lot of people in this space through the love of basketball and collectability. Bored Apes was really deep in like collective identity narrative. Axie was really like on top at that point, you know, around play to earn and kind of the stigma there. So we were combining a lot of interesting concepts in a more sustainable way in a blender. And I think we just saw it resonate with people, and it clicked.
Dude, sometimes I think about that time and I'm like, fuck, maybe I should have dropped the project. Like there was a part of me that was like, you know what? I don't want to, like, I just started, like the brand had just started. I was like, it's just so risky. And I was also just terrified because I didn't have the funds. I didn't have the team. I didn't know enough people to the development and all that stuff. What would you say for people who are trying to maybe drop a project right now? Because people don't think they are, but people are dropping projects all the time, even in markets like this. A lot of them are having issues with marketing and just getting people interested, because a lot of projects just moving for no reason, or certain influencers pump it or whatever. What would you say if you have any advice for projects that are dropping right now, like this week kind of thing?
It's tough, man. So I guess at first, like there's a few sides to it. And what I mean by that is, first of all, a lot of people like want to drop a project to drop a project. And I think it's cool to experiment, but I think like when you're looking at something that they're trying to like charge for, that there's real value behind, like people have to realize how difficult and stressful it can be. Like, it's committing to building a full-fledged company in the public. It's kind of the way I always put it. It's kind of like you're going public, like you're IPOing day one. It's like essentially what it feels like, right? Where you have like investors, you have like true members that are in it for the product or the vision. You're going to get a little bit of everyone in there, right? So you have to be willing, like, to dive in, to really commit to that, to be ready to kind of ride or die with your community, with your supporters, because you're going to get a lot of positive people. You're going to get a lot of negative people, because people buy in at a top of a project and they hold it all the way down, and suddenly they're mad at you when nothing probably changed in your vision or your roadmap or your product. Because, like in Rumblecong's case, or even reNFT's case, like it takes years to build meaningful games, right? Yeah. Like that's something we always, communicated from day one, is like, it's easy to build a small, shitty DeFi game with a Ponzi loop, right? But it's very difficult to build meaningful games, and it takes time, right? So you're not going to see, an NFT come out and then a game product that's very meaningful launch in a year, even, right? Like it takes a lot of time. So I guess my advice is to just really think about what you're doing, think about the vision. How is it benefiting this space? How is it new? How is it innovative? I think we see a lot of the same copy paste, pump and dump narratives, and people in the space love it. Traders love it, sure, but it's the flavor of the week in my book, and you forget about it the next day, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I try to ask questions that are, when someone's found a couple projects and have been here and been OGs, because there are so many people who are a lot of people who are like right on the cusp of building something, and they're just like they don't have everything they need yet to just make that jump. And I always talk about with my brand, with Joyage, is like, just do it right before you're ready, because it's like the one thing you're missing is the leap of faith. It's like you think there's something that you're missing, but it is in fact, like when I talk about this every now and then, it's like with my editor, I was not ready to hire an editor, didn't think I could afford it. I was just like terrified. I was like, no, there's no way I can get an editor. Like I need this, and this before I do it. It's going to take so much time. And I was with my friend Casey. He's like, no, just put out a tweet. And I was like, no, like, I don't know. Like, what if I can't hire them? He's like, no, just put out the tweet though. And I was like, yeah, but like, he said, no, just put out the fucking tweet. And so I put out the tweet. A month later, I've got Jensen Truffle's in here. He's crushing it. He's doing a lot of stuff for me right now, or with me right now. And it's the coolest thing ever. And I was not ready, and nothing changed, by the way. Like after I said, oh, okay, let's do some stuff together, nothing ever changed. I just was like, oh, I guess I just am ready. And that jump, that leap of faith, which gave me that confidence to go. Yeah, I don't know. That's
you need the push sometimes, right? Like to your point, it's like you're hesitating with sending a tweet, but it's like you don't even have to hire anyone yet. Like just send the tweet and see if there's interesting people. Even with like the early days of reNFT, when we were, kind of branching off the project out of hackathons, like we were talking with a lot of people, just gaining a lot of insight on what's needed, like how we could go about this and whatnot. And like we put out this, like, the reNFT Genesis card. We put out this AstroCat NFT to like generate hype, and it went crazy. And it was like we were contemplating, even like, do we put that out? Should we attract eyes through it? It was like an early free NFT, right? And it just resonated with people. And then like, oh wait, this is actually really cool infrastructure being built. So yeah, you just got to do it. You got to experiment. There's no better time to be innovating, trying new things than now, right? And like some of them may end in a train wreck, but that's what you got to learn from and pivot away from, and navigate through with your community.
And that's the risk, I think, with Web3 is because everything's so public and because you get crucified. The thing is, people also like, yeah, you might get crucified and you might eat a lot of shit right there for a little bit. But I mean, just think about how much shit Frank has eaten, and he's been fine because he just keeps going. And like, by the way, there's 100 other founders who do that. They're maybe not as famous as Frank, but they eat shit for a little bit. They get a bunch of FUD. People leave, and then they're like 6 months later, they come back and they're still fine. Because the only difference is like they just didn't stop versus the people who rugged. But anyways, like kind of while we're on that topic, like, do you remember kind of like what got you originally into crypto back in 2014? Because I can't even for the life of me think of a reason why you get in 2014. But also, like, what was the first endeavor when you got in? Because you mentioned you were in there wasn't a whole lot, but you somehow to go to full time and to kind of jump in like that. How did that happen, and what was that like?
Yeah, for sure. So specifically, like, my brother was super deep in kind of the crypto space and the Bitcoin world, and like I've always been involved in tech to some degree, from game development, whatever, like trying new things. And like I thought just the whole concept around this decentralized money or digital currency as a whole was pretty interesting. And then kind of morphed into, we were trying to do this like early sports betting concept at the time, helping my brother. And back then the thing was regulations, like it would work today, but probably, but regulations around sports betting back then, like it was worse than murder in most places, right? And the perfect way to do it was through Bitcoin. That's really the only way to do it. So that got us like super familiar with the tech, what was happening, for obvious reasons, like that we couldn't really stray down that path much longer, but it got us really into it. And then like just investing from a personal standpoint, and like, I don't know, we saw the thesis early on that like maybe we're just like sort of anti-government, anti-corporation at heart, but we were kind of all in on this concept of like owning your own things, your own money, controlling your own things. Like I've always been really big on that from a personal perspective of like, as a human, I should make my own decisions on my own things, right? And if I go to, if I have money in the bank, like I should know that the money's there, right? But in reality, it's not.
It's some scary stuff, dude. It's some very scary stuff. What are your thoughts on the whole shit going down? We got Binance. I mean, you're OG. You've been here since the early crypto days. You guys probably have a much different opinion, because I remember when I interviewed the Dapper Labs team, like all the guys over there. I think we had Arthur, we had Jordan from Doodles, we had Mac Lavelle. He was fucking awesome. I loved hearing his storytelling. He was the funniest guy. But they have a very, very, very unique take on the market because they're so OG. So would love to know your thoughts on Binance situation, and then also maybe the banks a little bit, and touch on that.
Yeah. First of all, I think it's the first time the whole world's astray. Like it's a first real crypto winter where like everything is shit. Like macro, there's war. Like, not to get super negative, but the world's crazy right now. Like it's never been at this point. So I think that already is like a massive tornado in the midst of everything. But if we focus like just for a second on like SVB, the bank collapses, I think it's fascinating to me that like, in traditional education, like they don't teach you about finances. They don't teach you about taxes, how banking system works, like who even makes decisions in the country on like to print more money, right? Like how these decisions are made, those kind of things. And it's crazy to me to like find out, and like a lot of people aren't financially literate, which is fine, but it's crazy to me to think how many people don't understand how a bank works, right? And that like if there was a bank run on any major bank, like to the stature of that, like the same thing would happen, right? Most banks keep like 5% reserves. Like they lend out your money. That's how they make money, right? That's how like the entire economy is built on leverage and debt at the end of the day. In every
even normal people with credit cards, like think about how many people have literally no money in their checking account, but they got 4 credit cards maxed out. If you're a businessman, maybe that's like one of those risks you take in the beginning of the journey. Like that's maybe that's a different thing. But a lot of people with credit cards, bro, they got a couple grand in the bank. And if their credit cards like, yo, you need all your money right now, they are fucked.
Exactly. Right. And so like people just, I think that like some of these entities are too big to fail because they have reputation, you look up to them. I also think the most fascinating part is never before have we had like social media on this level to cause bank runs like this. Like I would argue that Twitter was a massive part of the SVB fallout.
Dude, yeah. We also had the Wall Street bets back in the bull runs, the Dogecoin. We TikTok. TikTok gave me $15,000. So thank you, TikTok, for the Dogecoin pumps.
Crazy, right? Like what a world we're living in. So I think to that point, like things are gonna have to evolve. Like the legacy financial system is operating in like the 1600s, right? Like that's always been the case. They're going to be the last ones to ever change. And what we're creating here is like an entirely new way of doing things. And like for them to catch up will take tens of years, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't surprise me that they go after a lot of these entities because they don't understand them. They on the surface, it probably looks like they're running massive scams, right? And so if anything, a lot of them are gonna for sure investigate them, see what's going on. You're talking about billions and billions of dollars being managed by like corporations that they don't even know what they're doing with it, where it's going, who's managing these wallets. So I think it's horrible, but also healthy. Like we need regulations at the end of the day for true capital, for like your trillions of dollars to actually flow into this space. There has to be regulatory clarity. Like your big funds, your big money markets, they're not going to just jump right in, right?
Yeah, 100%. Love to know your thoughts on this because you have the Romocogs background as well. I've always stuck by PFPs. There's been a lot of influencers who they sort of changed their mind honestly in the last few months once DeGods and Youth sort of became so popular again. But they were like, PFPs are dead, and I was just like, bro, no, they're not. Like, what are you like? Everyone, bro. Like, let's be honest. Like, all the influencers were all saying. I was just kind of like, what are you? What? I was like, what are you talking? Like, these are like this is literally like ground zero of NFTs or these PFPs. Like, yeah, most of them are going to die. But I was like, who else is going to be running around the metaverse? I was like, you got to have some kind of communities that are running around. Like some of them are going to be cool and fun. And like, especially for now, I was like, I know everyone wants to talk about mass adoption and, we're 10, 15 years away. It's like, okay, yeah, but that means we got 10 or 15 years to play around here. We got our own industry right now, right here. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that because I've always looked at the NFT space and the Web3 degens and like the Twitter space and all that as like very similar to, for example, the fitness industry, where there's YouTubers out there making fitness content. There's supplement companies out there. It's like very, very similar. We're just in the very, very beginning. We'd love to hear your thoughts on PFP projects and brands and communities, how it relates maybe to a metaverse of sorts in the future, how it relates to sort of the nearer future, maybe with AR, VR, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. That's an interesting comparison. I haven't heard that one. I like it though. First of all, I think like it all boils down to digital identity, and like people, it's human nature, it's psychology. Like people put an identity around themselves. It might be themselves, but certainly like even when you're choosing a photo of yourself, you're going to choose a photo that probably doesn't look like you, 90%, 80% of the time, whatever it is. You're going to choose the best photo of yourself probably, or the funniest photo, or it goes to your personality, right? It shows a little bit about yourself. And like PFPs are the same thing. I think the only reason anyone like would stray away from them is because we got in a cycle where people were actually flexing their PFPs because they were worth money, right? And suddenly they weren't really worth much. And so now they're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to flex that, right? I'm down $50,000 or whatever the case is. But I personally think digital identity and the ability, to express yourself is massive and will continue to be massive. Like there's no denying that. It's going to become a reality as we spend, more and more time.
You can stop if you want. Like if you want to grab the dog, yeah, go ahead. Guys, I want to take this moment to just real quick while he's doing that, real quick, mention that the giveaway is still going on. I am going to mention the giveaway winner a little bit towards the end of the show. You guys still can enter that as many times as you want. Just screenshot wherever you're at. If you're going to do multiple entries, you might as well go to another platform and screenshot that one to help me out and also help you out. Maybe it'll stick out a little bit in my eye when I'm scrolling. Just screenshot wherever you're watching this, or if you're listening on Spaces, screenshot the Spaces. Tweet us, just tag us, and then make sure you've retweeted the space and make sure you have also followed all the hosts. That's all you have to do to win in this giveaway. And he's back. The man is back.
Sorry, my dog got neutered, so he's got a cone on and he's lost.
Oh, shit. Anyway. That sucks. I feel you there. Anyways, I was going to say, that's a great move. Or that's a great kind of discussion that we honestly could stay in that discussion for a long, long time. But there are a couple questions I had here. Just because I don't want to forget, and I have it here, and I don't want to, because I don't know where the rest of the conversation is going to go. I want to ask it before. This is more related to reNFT again, and I want to share my screen. I haven't done this. I don't know if I can right now. Hold on. Google Chrome would like to record this computer screen. Hold on. Let me. If I do this, I think I can. If I just do that. All right. Give me 1 second.
Cool.
can. Google Chrome may not be able to record the contents. Quick Chrome. No, I'll do that later. All right. I think this will work. Here we go. And I want to record this window. There we go. All right. Sweet. Okay, y'all can see that, I think. Okay, so just for reference, if you guys are going to enter the giveaway, this is the NFT that you guys could be winning. Just right. That is right?
Yep, that's the one.
Okay, cool. That's the one that you guys could win if you want to win this giveaway NFT. 0.175 is the current price for that one. And then I was going to talk about this, which is cool. The scholarship automation. Would love to know kind of how this works. And then we'll dive a little bit into like the actual website about the market, because I thought that was a really, really cool page. But I just wanted to kind of show them that real quick, and I will unshare my screen and we can chat about the scholarship thing, because that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. So we call it our reward share automation product, which is basically like take a guild model, make it more sustainable, and automate it. So like we don't define for any game what their economy should look like, how that should function, like how it should play in, what rewards should be allocated. We just simply like provide the plumbing to automate it. So like if people aren't familiar, a lot of the whole scholar model, the like unsustainable nature, like it was manually done. They were sharing account passwords. Like it was rentals with a different twist.
Yeah.
But with our reward share product, basically how it looks is instead of defining like an upfront rental price and duration, what the lender can actually do is set reward splits. So like 50% for them to play with the asset. Maybe it's, you know, some kind of small ERC20 token rewards, but the point is they can use the asset to do something, and everything is completely automated and trustless. So that's actually, if you go actually on that platform, the market page, what I'll show you is if you switch to Avalanche, that's actually what's live. Yeah, so on that top right by the little network switcher, if you hit Avalanche, click it, yeah, you'll see Castle Crush. That's what's actually live there that we're seeing quite a bit of activity on. If you like click one of those, you'll see that.
Should we do this? Oh, this one's cool. Wait, hold on. Okay, I want to scroll a little bit. These are really cool. Oh, this is so fun. I love this shit, dude.
Good ones, man. And they all have different rarities.
Oh man, fuck. All right, which one should we do? You tell me. I don't know which one to do.
Well, I mean, pick an available one. So maybe just that top left one, just so you can get an idea.
All
right. There's so many, but like, so this horde, it's a rank 1, right? So anyway, what we built for them is payouts based on their tournament cycle, which is every 24 hours, where this person defined 50-50. So like the market is normally closer to like 70-30, 80-20, where 80% is going to the player, 70% is going to the player. So like no one's rented this one, right? Because they're not so competitive with their rates. But nonetheless, like this is kind of how the reward share product actually functions, and it's all automated. And they can set an upfront price if they want, or they cannot. So a user could come on, use an asset, play a game, and the lender and renter are both automatically given any kind of rewards they're earned in.
And I'm not even mad about this. Like you're getting a rank 1. Like this is like the best one. So I assume that has it's gonna help your game. Like you get literally a rank 1 to play the game. 50, I mean, I guess 50-50 is kind of tough, but you're also getting rank number 1. So that's probably that's not such a bad move. I would probably do that if I had a rank 1.
Like, and again, like to your point, like a market's formed on different rarities or what it looks like, or eventually, like as more data is coming in on chain and these kind of things, I think we'll see markets form around skill, like I was mentioning, where you'll see like, hey, this person performs really well in different games, but they've been given all these sold down tokens based off their performance. They should earn more because they're going to earn more with your asset, or they're going to do more with your asset, right? So a lot of interesting markets kind of downstream form around it.
Yeah, man, that was really, really cool. I love seeing that. And I was going to say also, your website and the market, both, whoever designed your website is probably you, or I don't know who it was, but fire stuff, bro. That was really, really good. Really high quality stuff.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we've got a great design team internally. So shout out.
Yeah, man, that stuff makes a difference. Sometimes I don't think it does, and then I'll see someone with a really high quality one, and I'm like, damn. Yeah, that's
our website and all that to show how we think about things. Like it's different, it's outlandish, right? Like you want it to be like an extension of yourselves.
Yeah, 100%. Also, what while we're talking about sort of, I guess, output as far as like how people view you guys, when you guys are making your content, what's the content you guys focus the most on? And then what kind of in terms of like what you guys like to make and what you think people enjoy to watch, versus are there videos that you guys make that are more focused on like converting and being like, yo, someone needs to watch this and like go to our landing page after this?
Yeah, for sure. So everything, it depends on the platform, obviously, but you know, most of what we do is B2B focused, where we're focused on game developers. Like they're integrating our tech at the end of the day. And then from there, you know, say that game integrates, then we can start creating content around what you can do through our tech in that game that's catered towards those players, those NFT owners, or what have you. So it's kind of twofold. We also tend to, like reNFT, given we're gaming focused, we do a lot of gaming content just on like history of gaming, new projects out there, like weekly recaps, that kind of thing, just to like keep people informed on what's going on in the space. Also, like we're working with large Web2 studios, like, you know, wildlife is a big one, and they're not as familiar with Web3. So like, how can we show and educate through that? We find ourselves often like advising a lot of these projects where like, hey, why are you doing that for your wallet flows? Why aren't you using something easier like this, right? And so we work with a lot of companies on that. My personal favorite content is always the history stuff. Like maybe I'm nostalgic to like how gaming has evolved, because it's just insane over the last 10 years, even 5 years, how gaming has just like gone nuts in so many different ways. So that's my favorite personally. It's like these videos on recaps. We did one.
So you did a history of virtual worlds on YouTube.
Exactly. And just like, you know, you don't see it in the moment, right? Like you didn't see it in the moment, but now when you're talking about these concepts and look back, it clicks, right? It makes sense.
Anything that you remember being, oh, do you need to get your dog again?
No, we're all good.
Okay. Yeah, if you need to, just let me know. Like, totally fine. We can pause the show. I was gonna ask. So, do you remember anything from back in the day? It doesn't have to be all the way back in the day, but anything that you guys were like, this is gonna be so fucking sick, and then it just hasn't played out, or just went in a totally different direction, and you were like, oh, that's interesting.
You know, I didn't see. I'm trying to think. One that I've been talking about recently is I didn't see how much the user acquisition narrative around rentals would click for projects. Like that's a recent one that just came to mind. Like we were just at GDC the other week, and it was the only thing anyone talked about. Like there's no users in the space. We need interesting ways to bring them in. We need barriers lowered and all these kind of things. So that's one that came to mind that was like, oh shit, like this clicks way more than we ever would have thought. I'm trying to think. Early on, like we built a collateralized solution, which we're like, I don't think many people are going to use it, but it was more of like showing, hey, there's more to these assets than just buy, sell, and you know, put as my Twitter profile. And so what that was is, instead of having, you know, completely collateral-free, trustless infrastructure, people had to post the collateral, which became oftentimes over collateralized, to lend the asset, or to rent the asset, excuse me. And they would actually have full custody of the asset. So they technically could sell it. What we saw there was, obviously we saw some interesting cases, but if the floor price pumps above the collateral, they're not going to return it, right? So you're effectively liquidated. So we saw like that, we're like, no, that doesn't make sense, right? Cuts off a lot of people who were renting in the first place.
Sure.
That was probably the biggest, like, and again, it was more of a proof of concept, but that was the biggest, like, okay, there needs to be, you know, barriers completely removed for this to actually work.
Yeah, man. Where were you spending your time back then, and like where do you spend your time now? Like, do you have like a day in the lifestyle thing, or is it very different? Like, I know some people who literally have the same day every day, even though they're in Web3, and it's like a joke because we're like, no day is the same. But I know some people that their day is pretty much the same every day. Like, would love to know what you're working on, where you spend your time.
Yeah, I mean, very traditional startup culture, a little bit everywhere. I think the hardest thing in this space is obviously focusing on the meaningful things. The narrative changes every hour, it feels like. And it's exhausting, right? Like at the end of the day, especially if you're planning for something or like some product activation, and then like narrative flips, right? Suddenly royalties mean nothing. And it's like, there's a you know, larger business decision in that. So these days, spending a lot of time on like operations, strategy, like hiring is always like the biggest one. Like we spend so much time on both, you know, reNFT side and RKL side on like hiring people. Like we spent an immense amount of time, because I think your team is your most important thing, and like you want people that are actually passionate about this space to move it forward. And so I'm super proud of like the team we've built, and like the passion that runs in. And we've sort of built like at reNFT, we've really built this like research collective almost of people who, if we're not talking about work, we're minting NFTs together, like, you know, whatever, like we're talking about something exciting happening in the space. So yeah, a little bit everywhere though. I mean, like this month I'm spending more time on product to get some things in order. So it just kind of depends on the month for sure.
What do you love spending time? Like when you wake up, you're like, oh, I can't wait for this part of the day, if there's anything, or is it the whole entire endeavor of being an entrepreneur? Like, have you always been an entrepreneur? Also, like, if you don't mind me asking, like, how old are you? Like, all that.
I know. So I'm 26. I really started building things like, first real successful video game, I was 14. So
Nice.
I've always, I guess, like been an entrepreneur, done things, built things, and like would have it no other way, honestly. What really excites me is just like innovating and pushing things forward, like finding new ways of doing things, like, you know, finding new ways to like bring people into the space from like brand collaborations. Like, how does that look that benefits your community while also like providing value for them? Like, I guess just like overall a strategy really excites me, and like how you blend these worlds together to make something actually impactful.
Have you ever had I'm sure you've had moments of doubt, but have you ever walked away and done something else for a little bit? Or have you ever felt like, yo, I'm fucking tired of this shit? Like, I talked to an entrepreneur here who literally stopped being an entrepreneur. He was like, bro, I'm fucking tired. Like, I've been doing this forever. He's like, I'm going to work a 9 to 5, like literally a 9 to 5 that I hated for so long. Or he didn't hate that specific job. He's like, I hated the idea of a 9 to 5 until I was an entrepreneur and it turned into a 24/7. And I've also hit a few walls where I'm like, Jesus Christ, like I would be okay if, I mean, I'm not going to, because I love this shit, but I was like, if I walked away, I would still be proud because it's fucking hard, bro. Like, I see why no one survives YouTube, for like content creation. And I see why people barely survive entrepreneurs, because you're going to fail your first 6 things. And that's why it's hard. That's why like nobody is an entrepreneur. It seems like everyone is, but not truly, you know?
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm just insane, but like I'm just kind of like the all in type where like, this is what I want to do. This is what I've always done. Like, this is what I'm good at. And for sure there's burnout periods, right? Like, days are long, nights are longer. This space can drive you crazy. So I think you really have to keep your head. Like, I'm lucky to have people around me in my real life, like family, friends, girlfriend, all that keep me sane and pull me out of the cave to go do, you know, touch grass, so to speak. But I think it's really important to also keep the mental health in check. Like, I'm a big, you know, I'm like really into the gym and working out, and like you have to be, I think, or at least have some sort of vice like that, be it health focused, that keeps you sane, right? Like, for instance, in the morning, like I have an hour where I just like, I don't touch the notifications yet. And like, I wake up to notifications across 4 time zones, right? So like, it's fire in the morning. So I'm like, I just need to breathe first and then attack the day, because then it's nonstop, right? So I think you just have to set aside those moments to like be present and be there before going to like, you know, go to war, so to speak, with your company in a good sense, right?
I struggle with that too, because like I usually do spend a portion of my morning meditating or doing something along that sort, and I really struggle with just being like, let me just check like one thing real quick, just like one thing. If I just get this one thing done, it'll be no problem. Bro, it's a literal addiction. Like, when you sit there and you feel like you need to grab your phone, it is the exact same thing as you feel like you need to smoke a bowl or something like that. It's all the same thing. And crazy, dude. Like, we got a Web3 Dijin out here with a girlfriend. Like, how rare is that? Congratulations. I'm just kidding. But no, it's true. Like, do your friends, your family, do they understand crypto? You've been in it for a while. I imagine they probably understand it or support it. Do any of your family or friends think it's a literal scam, or they can't even understand your world?
I don't think they all understand it, really. Maybe they understand 10%. The joke for me has always been like, we don't know what you do, but it's cool, right? Kind of thing. People get gaming, so that always clicks with them. Usually when I introduce like what I do to somebody, it's like, I work in software development. Like, I'll skip I don't want the conversation, right? Or like the teach me about crypto, or the tell me why it isn't a scam or whatever. I'm like, I'm past that. Like, I can't do any more of those. So yeah, they do to an extent, and they support. Like, got family who like they buy the reNFT Genesis cards, or like songs, like they hold, they buy, just because they're like, I want to support. I don't really know what the hell's going on here, but it's cool, you know.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, most people I know in real life don't. I think it's just the trying to pull apart the idea of like the Web3 space as an industry, and that's why I always compare it to like the fitness industry, just so people can get a visual of how I look at it and how I operate in it. Because like, you know, something happens and they're like, oh my god, FTX is going down or Binance is going down, they'll text me and be like, are you okay? And I'm like, it doesn't even affect me at all. Like, yes, it's fine. Like, as long as the crypto entire space doesn't dissolve overnight, and I don't mean the money, I mean like the people here and the builders and the companies. Like, as long as they don't all disappear overnight, which just isn't going to happen, I was like, I'm fine. It doesn't matter if one bank closes or one exchange goes down. I mean, it would probably suck, but I don't imagine, like, even if the worst thing happened, which if Binance and Coinbase both just went down. All right, if both of those happen at once, like, that would be kind of scary. But at the same time, I'm like, bro,
real quick.
we're in this. Like, it's like too deep. There's too many big companies in here. Like, I know like Disney and Facebook, they're cutting certain divisions and stuff, but it's not as bad as it sounds. It's like, bro, that's pretty standard. We're in a market where we've all realized that some of these things that we were building toward is a very long time away. All tech companies are starting to cut, not even just tech companies. We just saw Walmart slash jobs. Like every single company right now is slashing jobs because of the macro climate. And we don't know where we're going. We're seeing Russia, we're seeing India start to support everyone else basically but us. And people are freaking out because they're like, wait a second, the US doesn't have any leverage anymore. What is that going to be like if the United States isn't this big powerhouse kind of thing? We have like elections coming up soon-ish, and there's a whole lot in the air. But for me, I'm just a content creator, bro. I'm just like, bro, even if everything goes wrong, I'm gonna be making content on it. Do any of you, does any of your portion of your day include creating the content?
Well, no, I'd like to write more than I do. Like I enjoy it, but like I'd like to spend more time on Twitter, but my days are just crazy, and I need to, and I know I need to. But every once in a while, I'll drop a cool thread or whatever. But not as much right now. Like on the reNFT side, for instance, our CMO Rod, our community manager Axel, and our partnerships head Juan. They're super active. They're all over the place. You probably see their content going left and right, and they're the brains. I can't take credit behind a lot of the awesome content we see. I just point one out if I don't like it.
True. Yeah, it's like a natural thing. Like some people just get the content game. I found some people don't quite understand it. Like I struggle sometimes with like when I get hate comments because I'm like, I can't tell how much effort they put in to the hate comment. So I don't know if I should like make a video because I think that I can like sometimes they'll say something, I'm like, man, if you just grasped it, I think you actually would be you'd be down if I just like explain it. But like I don't know if I want to make this video. And sometimes it's hard. Like I had a guy who was like, this dude was mad, bro. I don't know what happened, but he watched one video, got pissed. He literally scrolled through all my reels. He would comment on like 12 different videos. I was like, all right, do you love me or something? Or do you really hate me this much?
Effort into creating content, they'd probably be like a known content creator, right? It's like,
and I just hate it because I'm like, bro, there's so much missed opportunity. If you just like, why would you bother hating? Like, just do something else, man. Like, I just can't even. That's why I was like, this guy must be clowning me. I was like, because he's giving me free content. I'm clowning him on Twitter. I don't understand. This has to be a joke or something. But anyways, I have some rapid fire Q&As that I want to ask. It's like this big folder of random questions I've asked people. Some of them will be rapid fire. We can just answer in like 2 seconds. Some of them might dive into a whole thing about it. And I do want to ask a couple of these that are a bit bigger questions, maybe in the beginning, because I just want to know your thoughts on this, because it does relate to sort of the metaverse and VR and AR, because a different category of jobs is probably going to open up, right? With all this tech. ChatGPT 4 is pretty nuts. ChatGPT 3 on its own is pretty nuts. Like I don't do nearly as much fucking work anymore. Like I do a lot of reviews, I do a lot of research and stuff like that. And guys know a lot of people say they use ChatGPT and AI every single day, but I would bet that most of them don't. I'm telling you all right now, I use ChatGPT every single day, every single fucking day. And it's the craziest thing. What are your thoughts on this? UBI, CBDCs, and then UBI, like universal basic income, where people get airdropped money just for existing kind of thing because people can't afford to live anymore, but in the form, instead of cash, a CBDC that is issued by the government. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on like how likely that is versus not using a CBDC?
I think today anything's likely. Yeah, just how insane the world is. I'm personally I'm like a capitalist at heart, right? So like I think people should work and earn and produce and benefit. Like the US is built on the backbone of like industries producing things, right? And so I think that's how the world functions. Like you have to put something into the world to get something out of the world, be it anything. I think as soon as you start just like airdropping helicopter money to everyone, like why would I work, right? Like you mean I can make the same and not actually do anything? Like suddenly everyone's like, yeah, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna go be, the trash man or a waiter or this, but like all of these jobs are just as important as one another because, we need all of them for society to actually function, for the world to actually work. So I guess my thesis is I'm anti all that, and I'm like anti CBDC because I don't want the government controlling anything of mine.
Yeah, right? That's just some sketchy shit too. There's a video about these in China right now in schools. And look, I can't even. It doesn't matter if it's real or not because it's a concept that matters. But I don't know if this was a video taken out of context. It was on fucking TikTok. So take this for what it is. But they were trying to like get checkout lunch like you do in a public school, and instead of just going up and giving them money, they scan their face and depending on what score they got placed by their, I guess their teachers, like how they did in class or whatever, they either could or could not eat. There was only two options, like either get food or you don't. And I was like, oh my God, do you see where this goes? Like, this is terrifying. I mean, we just saw it with like, we had the 2020, thing that I don't know if I say, if I don't even know if it matters anymore now, but COVID, whole thing happened. People were like, well, what does that lead to? Like, what other things are they going to start not letting you do? Because we just started to let it happen and it started to cascade and cascade and cascade. That's where it gets scary for me is the CBDCs, is because that turns just like that social credit score Black Mirror episode, which we laughed at a couple years ago.
100%. No, I couldn't agree more. And like, there's no line anymore. Like when they can control everything, which is, goes to like your emotions or whatever. At the end of the day, like they're influencing your decision making, your emotions through content. And that's why I think content creators like yourself are so important to produce meaningful content that isn't doing that. It gets really, really scary.
Yeah, true. All right, now flipping the script a little bit. I want to know your favorite video game. Tell me you're a video game dude. Drop your favorite video game. Drop your favorite, like maybe by a different station. Like, I don't know how deep you are in the video games, but I know there's a lot of gamers out there and they're like gun ho about like, I'm PlayStation, I'm PC, I'm Xbox. So drop your favorite video games.
So I was always an Xbox guy, first of all.
Right.
Granted, I built Xbox indie games, so I'm biased. My favorite current day games, obviously RKL. But if I extrapolate out to live games in the past, like as cliche as it might be, like I have to go back to Minecraft. Like I started like just as a kid by running Minecraft servers and like building little communities within them, and like then them profiting, and then went into like even game hosting based off of that. And then from there I ended up building games, hacking games. Like that's what catapulted my journey like through gaming, honestly. And also like it touches a lot of the things I'm doing today. It's what even got me into, Web3 gaming through the sandbox, was like that experience within the voxel realm. So like, it's just got a special place in my heart, man. I got to go back to that. And I think still is a king, man. Like it's one of the true metaverses out there is Minecraft, and what people are doing through modding, through their own servers. Like there's all these little micro communities and companies formed within it.
Yeah, some crazy shit, dude. It's some crazy shit. Guys, if you're in the chat right now, I would love to know what kind of games that y'all are playing, because gaming's a fucking big world, and I imagine we'll be hearing a lot more about it as Web3 starts to continue developing as well.
I gotta know yours now, though, man.
Dude, the thing is, I'm not a huge gamer, but when I played, like I'm a big FIFA maxi, and I do consider FIFA a video game. I know it's not a first-person shooter style game. I've never been good at it because as a kid, I was not popular. And I was like the only half Japanese kid in a school of rich white kids for the first like half of my life. And I was like, okay, listen, I can't continue to fall down the totem pole and suck at video games because I can't play. And like my dad won't let me play these games at home. So I have to practice at my friends' houses, but they're already good. So if I show up, I'm just going to get like killed the entire time. And I did. So I just never got good at them. I did play a G.I. Joe on a really, really, really old console game, which I loved. And I was not very good. So I was just like, damn. So I'm not a great like first person shooter game, which stinks because I wish I was. I have always been more of an adventure style game. I love Pokemon, Zelda. I love those kind of games. So
I've got a soft spot for all the Call of Duties in my heart too, because like that's like I went deep Xbox hacking days, like
damn.
OG modded lobby glory days. It was like on my jam. So it's much different nowadays, but nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure. So Bane says I do FIFA mostly. Ice Dark says last game was Mega Man. Haven't heard of Mega Man. Interesting stuff. You know what? This is a good time. Let's choose this giveaway winner right now. Guys, if this is your last this is literally your last chance. You have about 12 seconds to do this. All you got to do is be following the 3 hosts on Spaces, retweet the space, of course, and then screenshot wherever you're at, tweet it, and tag us. That's all you have to do. I'm literally going to give you 10 seconds. I'm going to start scrolling right now. And the way it works is I literally just go to my mentions, and I just scroll, and I just see how long this goes. There we go. All right, I'm just going to scroll up and down. I'm just going to pick, fam. This is how it goes. Straight. Oh, cake. Oh, no, that's the same one from earlier. All right, here we go. The winner of this 0.175 worth NFT from reNFT is... Shit, I got to keep scrolling. I fucking landed on someone that's not even a giveaway entry. Here we go. God damn it. Again. Why do I suck at this? All right, here we go. Landed on reNFT. reNFT, I'm sorry. You guys can't win your own NFT. Sorry. Why is this so much harder than I thought? What the fuck? Okay, here we go. Dev Kusa. Dev Kusa, you are the fucking winner. Congratulations. Let me hit this. Congratulations. You are the winner of a free NFT, and then let's go. So that's gonna be for the reNFT NFT giveaway, and then let's see what else we got. We got Ice and Dark. Ice and Dark, you are the winner of whatever I do for the Joyage Kingdom giveaway. I don't know if that's going to be an NFT or clothes or what. I'm going to DM you right now, and I'm going to say you are a fucking winner. Congratulations to you. Let's fucking go. We got 2 winners today. Let me DM the other person real quick. Devish Kusa, winner of the reNFT giveaway. Hell yes. That is awesome. Cool. Okay, so we got a couple questions left in this in this pod, because I think it's these are some interesting stuff. So because you're OG, I think this would be fun. It's a game called Fuck, Marry, Kill, but it's not Fuck, Marry, Kill. It's the concept. Okay. It's FUD, flip, or hodl. So you can either FUD one, you can flip one, and you can hodl one. And FUD.
Okay.
You gotta FUD one, but then you gotta stay a holder is the thing. So you gotta like take the heat too. So you gotta choose the community here, I guess. So we're not gonna use Rumble Kongs because that's just not fair. But I do want to pick some OG projects. So, man, see, maybe Doge Pound. I'm gonna pick some projects that I feel like are in the same category of project that would be fun from that time period, like Doge Pound, Supducks, Lazy Lions. Maybe I think they're all sort of in the same ish category. So FUD, flip, hodl, Doge Pound, Supducks, Lazy Lions.
I'm gonna FUD Doge Pound just because Doge. I mean, like anything with Doge, come on. And then I'm gonna flip Lazy Lions, and I'm gonna hodl Supducks because I already am. So
hey, me too. Let's go Supducks, baby.
Art, man. Like outside of anything they're doing, Frankie Nines, like his art. I mean, it's just, I think it's sick. So yeah,
I love it. That's the same reason I'm holding. I like him, like his brand. I love the art. I honestly I have no idea if it's gonna do anything in the future. Like I literally have no idea. I just fuck with it. Fuck with the community. Sup, guys. If you're a Supduck, sup. We love you guys. All right, couple last questions here. Is there anything that comes to mind that was like the hardest thing you worked through? Something that maybe you didn't expect. Something that's really just took you for a fucking time. That just like the hardest thing ever.
Like within the space?
No, maybe just like something that tested you as a person, like something that really, really tested you as a person to like see what you're made of, kind of thing. If anything comes to mind, that's like big.
Yeah, like if I focus on business in testing with a person, like which kind of feeds into Web3 and like my passion behind it is one of our games. So like Xbox indie games were all the craze, right? And Microsoft just shut down Xbox indie games store. Like this is like pre-Discord. Like there wasn't really, the only place you had a community outside of the game was like a forum, right? Like we had forums. And so effectively, like we had like successful studios, successful titles that Microsoft just said, okay, later, right? Like they shut down the indie games marketplace, gone. So for me, that was like super eye-opening, shocking, and tough, right? Like it's like a community going to zero overnight and not by your own choice or your own failures or your own decisions even, right? Where all we had left was like diehards on the forum who like dwindle out, right? Because there's nothing left to do. Like they shut everything down. And so like that is why like when I found out about Web3 NFTs, like decentralized culture, like my passion around that really, really stuck, because it would be like building something for numerous of years and then somebody just turning it off, being like, see you later. Like I'd at least, if something's going to fail, it's going to be because of me and not because of someone else, right? Like it's going to fail on my own terms versus somebody just turning something off and deciding that it failed.
Yeah, facts. I love that. All right, final 2 questions. What is the biggest misconception? Oh, wait, hold on. I saw a question from John earlier that I wanted to get to, and I think I actually may have already asked it. Shoot, John, where's your fucking question? It was something to do with, I think it was like, what do people have wrong about Web3 gaming / all that? It was something along those lines. Like, what are people having misconceptions about in the Web3 gaming sphere?
Yeah, I think there's a lot, but I think people, I still think that people think that like first of all, they think, like I saw it in person at GDC. This is like a new one for me, is that the negativity within Twitter and like the Twitter bubble around gamers hate NFTs and all this, it's not as prevalent as you might think. Like in person at GDC, people hate the term NFT, sure, but like when you talk about the tech, Web3, digital assets, we had a booth there, right, with the Blockchain Gaming Alliance, and we had people literally like 9 out of 10 people that came up to us said, I've never heard of Web3. Like, what is this? And then when you explained it in a way that they clicked, like, hey, do you have CSGO skins? You don't own those, but you can, like, right? And suddenly they're like, oh shit, like that kind of makes sense, right? Like, I don't actually own these assets, but I'm putting money into this ecosystem. Like, I kind of like that, right? So that's the biggest one, I think. Like, people think that gamers hate NFTs. I just don't think they've seen them in a way that makes any sense. And it's a loud few versus the majority.
Yeah, and that seems to be that's like a theme that I wish more people knew, that it's just people who are loud make it cause especially if they get a viral-ish video, like, oh well, this many people thought it, like that must be everyone. It's like, well, that's actually not at all true. Like, most people who don't care or in the middle or on the other side, they just don't make that content, and it's tough. Here's my final question for you, because my thoughts on this have changed a little bit too in the last like year or so. Can you be successful and smoke a lot of weed, maybe even daily or something like that?
I think it entirely depends on the person. I think like it affects everyone different, right? To some degree. I have friends that can't operate unless they're super high, and they're like very sharp guys and they're operating at full capacity. I myself, like, I can't operate high. Like, I just, if I am, I'd rather sit on the couch and eat popcorn and watch a movie, or sit on Twitter or something. Like, that's just me though. Like, that's how not my mentality, but that's like how it affects me. But for me, like, as a business operator, I've never cared what people do outside of their life. Like, are they operating at a high capacity? Is their work getting done? Are we meeting our goals? Are we meeting our deadlines? Do whatever you want outside of that, right? So that's kind of how I've always felt about it.
And speaking of popcorn or food, do you have a favorite like food or favorite restaurant? This will be my final question, I swear.
Favorite? Well, I have like favorite local restaurant kind of spots here in Arizona.
Yeah, drop it.
Favorite. So there's a spot called Virtue. It's like pizza pasta. It's just insane. It's like, feels like you're in Italy, and it's like well priced. So anyway, it's a spot that has a place in my heart here. But yeah, favorite food, definitely like probably any kind of Italian food. Honestly,
that's good stuff. Is there any food chains that have it right? Like, I've been like, people think it's like Olive Garden. That's like the only thing that people can think of for Italian food. I honestly, like, Olive Garden's not bad. I think Olive Garden's good.
Yeah, it's, you like the endless breadsticks, right?
Oh, yes, and the endless salad. I think they got endless salad. Shit, dude.
Right.
I'm a bodybuilder. I was a past bodybuilder, so like anytime I get like extra food, I'm loving it.
I love it. Honestly, no, like not that I've seen, because they always, like, when you franchise out, quality goes down, right? And like you get to like there's like Noodles and Company, and that's like, it's not Italian. Like, you get to these chained out places who to me aren't real Italian food, but they might be good,
Yeah, 100%. Guys, listen, we made it to the fucking end, and I saw a lot of you here at minute 1. So I appreciate anyone who is in here since the very, very beginning. I want to make sure y'all are aware that we fucking love you guys. Thank you for being here since the beginning. I see also a lot of people who jumped in halfway through, even the last few minutes. Thank you so much for being here. I see a few AI created PFPs in here as well, and spaces. That's also, I love seeing that. The one I have right now is actually created by, I believe, Midjourney, or maybe it was that Lensa app or something like that. But thank you so much if you're watching this in spaces. If you guys are watching us on YouTube or Twitch or LinkedIn or wherever you're at, thank you so much for being here. Bet Fury fam, fucking love you guys. Thank you for showing up. Some of y'all won some money here just through the Bet Fury thing. Some of y'all won an NFT. Someone won an NFT. Someone won something from the Joyage Kingdom. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be, but we had a lot of fun. And Nick, I had a lot of fun talking to you, dude. Definitely want to bring you back on and talk about Rumble Kongs and kind of that side of your life as well. But is there anyone you want to shout out kind of as we wrap this podcast up?
Definitely. No, appreciate you having me. Thanks for the time. Great to jam, and love your show, man, and love what you're doing. So appreciate everything. Appreciate your community. I just want to give a shout out to reNFT team, reNFT community, Rumble Kong community, Rumble Kong team, the whole slew of everyone, and appreciate you all.
Right on. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Until next, make sure you smash the likes also. And if you enjoy the conversation, likes and retweets, tag your friends, all the things. Until next time, continue on your Joyage, continue to learn, and be grateful you're alive watching this video. Bye.